Good morning, LBC Radio. My name is Corey Rosen, and welcome to the Story Podcast. Today I have a special guest, but before we do that, I have some merchandise to announce. We have these really cool stickers with the logo on it, and we got some hoodies coming out with the logo on the front, and the first 50 guests, including today's guest, Mr. Justin Angelo. If you are familiar with the Lancaster, PA music scene, there is a chance you may have heard of up-and-coming musician Justin Angelo. Angelo blends folk and blues guitar with brilliantly crafted lyrics that poetically illustrate his deep sense of passion, emotion, and consciousness. Every performance is a unique occasion. You can find Justin at his website, justinangelomusic.com. You can find him on Facebook at Justin Angelo, singer-songwriter, or on Instagram at Justin Angelo Music. How are you doing today?
I'm good, man. Thank you for having me. Thank you for bringing me in.
Yeah, man. So, what really got you inspired to start doing music? Was it just your family that was just always involved in music? Was it a particular album? Was it just a hand-me-down guitar? What was it?
Yeah, definitely a few things. My dad was a huge influence. My dad was a drummer. He's a percussionist. He played guitar. He played keys. So he was a very musical person. We always had a studio in our basement. And I don't mean like studio, like awesome big studio. I mean, like there was always just musical instruments scattered around. And, he would have live practices where they would play cover songs. And I was always like peeking down the stairs and like seeing what's going on. I would help him load in and out all the time. But yeah, it was definitely my dad sparked that interest in me. A couple albums, John Mayer Room for Squares, killer album when I was growing up. Loved listening to that. There was Switchfoot, Nothing Is Sounds album was really good. I really like that. Mercy Me's Undone album, to this day, the production value is still incredible. So those are some great albums that I love listening to. And yeah, I think just being in a musical family and being a family that's supportive, because my mom doesn't play music, so and neither does my sister.
Mm.
So it's just kind of my dad, and he was just so passionate about it. And I think whenever you see somebody with passion, you're just immediately you gravitate toward that. You really want to. You're like, what's this about? So it was really cool. But I feel like I was gonna end up there anyway.
So, when was the first time you picked up an instrument?
I think I started taking lessons when I was 9, and it was like a slow progression until I hit my teens.
Lessons in what?
Like guitar.
Guitar? Did you ever play in like band or?
No, I didn't do anything school related. I definitely had my acoustic guitar. They had a beginning guitar class at Hempfield High School, and I took it as my first period class, so I could just play guitar in the first period of my class, so I could get through my school day. So that was the closest I got. But I didn't really hang out with bands, like band kids so much. I just wasn't in that world. I sang chorus when I was in like middle school and elementary school and stuff, but I didn't keep it going through high school.
So what did you do with that talent? Did you let it go to the side if maybe you went to college, or what did you do from there?
Definitely not. I didn't let it go to the side at all. It just became like a thing where I just found myself like blowing off my friends to just sit in my room and play. And then I ended up getting in some metal bands. I got into a couple Christian metal bands. And then that was cool. Like I played in a bunch of metal bands. We did shows, and it was a really cool community. I liked it. It was very much like the skater community that I was from. Just like people you don't know that are like become your second family. And I loved that. But just being in bands at that level became like a difficult thing for me to keep going for a long period of time. So I kind of just started just kept writing acoustic songs while I was doing this stuff the whole time, and then eventually it just got to the point where I could go out and play a show, and I just started doing that, and then here we are.
Was it you that put together the bands, or was it just you being pulled in or maybe asked to come in?
Yeah, I'd say the first metal band I did, one of the singers had quit or something had happened or whatever, it doesn't matter. And I just heard about it. My friend was like, "Oh, you should go try that." And then I was doing that for a while, and then I was singing with one of my buddies, and he was like, "Man, you have a good voice. Like you should like put more time into that." And so I started doing that, and then the other metal bands I was in was just because they knew like the previous things I had done, like with the other people around, like in our local community. So that kind of led there. But then when I started writing my own stuff, it was by the time I was playing out, I just feel like I was comfortable because I'd played it so many times in my room that I was like, what's the difference between playing it in front of people? I never really had the stage fright place. I never really got there.
So how old were you when you started playing out?
Um, Probably the first time I played out was probably when I was like, probably did like a talent show when I was like 15 or 16, but I was playing in bars with my dad there by the time I was 18.
What was it like the first time you by yourself sat in front of a crowd? Was You said there was no stage fright, but was there excitement? Was there
Definitely excitement. Yeah, definitely excitement. I'm a jittery person by nature. Like
mm,
I fidget when I'm in a room with people. I tend to move a lot, you know.
yeah.
So I think there was definitely like the fidgety, jumpy energy for sure. But I wouldn't call that nervousness. I would call that excitement.
Anticipation?
Yeah. No, it was great though. I mean, when I was done, they were like, when you're old enough to drink in here and we can legally have you in here without your dad, you should come play some shows. And that was like a cool validation motivator. It's definitely better. It was better for me than if, I'd gone somewhere and they're like, you stink or
Right,
something.
right. It's,
That's not what happened. So,
it's always good when you have encouragement.
yeah, right, right. Very kind, loving people.
So how did you start getting those gigs? Was it just word of mouth? Was it your dad that was like, "Hey, look, my son wants to play," or blah blah blah?
I think it
What was
was,
it like?
yeah, I think it was a little both. Um, Definitely, I was like walking into Guitar Center with him, so all the Guitar Center people knew who we were because my dad was buying gear all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, I need this thing, we need this. Oh, this thing broke, we need to get this. So we're like in there all the time. So when I would go in by myself, eventually they'd be like, oh, hey, they all like knew who I was and stuff. And just from being there all the time, and we hung out in like the drum shop, so I hang out in drums, etc., and
Mm-hmm.
stuff. So I knew a bunch of people, and then I got my first gig at that same place that I played the show, and then I started hosting open mics there over at Shank's Tavern in Marietta,
Mm.
and we were in Lancaster, and I was still just rolling over there, and then eventually I moved into Marietta, and I started playing, all those venues, and I started kind of expanding, went out to like Maryland, Delaware, started meeting people here and there. I was a good networker. My dad was a good networker, so I was just really good at like kind of getting to know people, getting to know what the situation is. Oh, I haven't heard of that. Tell me a little bit more. And then, where some people would just kind of let that fall, I'd send them like 30 emails,
Right. It's
and I'm like, let me in. Like, I want to play here. I like your vibe. I like the thing.
it's so important to elaborate on conversations, especially if you're trying to network,
Oh, yeah.
for sure. Because there are some conversations that, truth be told, will go nowhere.
Right.
But if you find that one thing that the person is passionate about, or the one thing that just gets them talking forever, that's gonna make a lasting impact. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's hard to find, but if you're in a place of music, it's probably something related to music.
Yeah. It's pretty close. It's pretty close task for sure.
So, what was it like to? Did you? When was the first time you got paid to do a gig?
Ooh, the first time I got paid to do a gig, that was interesting for me because I had heard like so many people. Now I'm like 20, 21 at this point. I'm playing like because I was playing open mics, I was hosting stuff, I was doing stuff for like $100 under the table, whatever, just filling in a spot for someone.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of recognized pretty quickly that like okay, like this band probably makes more, and this band probably is probably similar, and I'm just kind of filling a role here. So I started trying to like feel out where my place was, like not in the sense of like oh like I'm better than these people, or just kind of trying to figure out where I was on the board in comparison to where the other people were on the board.
Just where you fit.
Yeah, like where I'm at, how the thing works. And I started wondering like how does this happen? How does this happen? How does this happen? So I just started talking to people and asking questions, started getting friendly with like the bartenders, the hostesses, like the people who were there every week, and I'd
Mm-hmm.
like wanted to hear their opinions on things and be like, okay, well, you're like a fly on the wall. Let me hear what you think about this, because everybody wants to ask the sound guy what he thinks,
Right.
but I want to know what the other people in the room are thinking. And I think that makes it easier for me to play in like a restaurant because I don't really mind if people are like not clapping or not engaging. Like I understand like where you are in a room. Like what I do now playing in a resort is a resort player is a little bit different
Mm.
because I'm kind of filling the role of hey, we want this to be enjoyable. And so now I'm filling that role rather than like, hey, you're kind of like you're at one point you're background music and at another point you're not.
Right.
Like and I don't like fighting people for engagement because I think there's something really strange in there where if like the musician isn't having a good day, and they like want the adoration and they want it so bad that they don't get it, it becomes a tense space. So I try to just like remove that entirely. I just try to let the show be what it is,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't really care if I'm, a chair or the limelight center focal point of the room. Like I just want to make sure that what I'm doing is not invasive to what anybody else wants to do.
Yeah,
You know?
that's a really good point actually. Because when it's like an open mic scenario or like an actual concert, yeah, you're the limelight,
Right.
and that's like expected crowd engagement,
Right.
etc. But if you're at like a restaurant on like a
Right.
balcony, you're just kind of there for background music. You're not
Yeah.
really there for engagement. Yeah,
Yeah.
the every occasional somebody will clap, but that's not
Right.
what you're looking for. You're
Right.
looking to play good music for people to eat to.
Right.
I've met a few musicians that get upset when people eat and talk when they're at a restaurant. I'm like, well, what do you expect? What are they here for? You know what I mean?
I mean, I keep that in mind when I'm in an open mic's a great example just because there's like people who understand the courtesies of like that whole process, and then there's people who have no idea and just go to hear people play, which I think
Hmm.
is cool because the room becomes a little bit more complex. I think that's a cool thing that happens in there. But I get that, that not everybody, like when I'm an open mic, I might be the guy who plays, 3 times a day or whatever. But if I go in and someone's talking over what I'm doing, I really don't care.
Fine, yeah,
So long as they're not being annoying and distracting everybody else in the whole room, I don't mind,
right.
you know? But I'm not there to please that individual person or to get nobody to talk.
Hmm.
I'm there to, expand and attract the listeners who are gonna listen and want to engage.
Yeah,
That those are the people I'm looking for. I'm looking for the cream of the crop. I'm not just
right.
trying to get everybody who, remotely doesn't care to follow me on Instagram. Like that's not my goal.
Exactly.
My goal is to have like, real relationships and have songs about real things that affect people,
Yeah,
you know?
it's you're not gonna catch them all.
No, this
Unlike
isn't Pokemon.
this is not Pokemon,
Yeah, right.
exactly. And that's not the goal to catch everybody. Granted, it would be awesome if everybody in the room was dead set paying attention to you because that'd be awesome. But it's not the case. Oftentimes, a lot of times, it's not the case, and you can't worry about the people who are just there to have fun. Because the people who are gonna care about you are gonna be there and looking and watching you, and that's all that matters. And the
Right.
people who get pulled in because of that, those are the people you really need to expand your audience to. It's not the people that are having a conversation not caring at all. It's the other people that are stopping their conversations and looking towards you.
Yeah, well, those are the people that I really specifically like when I get on break. If somebody was paying attention, listening, clapping, tapping their foot, doing any number of these things, I'll drop by their table and be like, "Hey, here's my card. Thank you guys for listening." Like I'm not gonna be like, "Hey," like I'll catch up with my buddy, but I'm not gonna be like, "Hey, man, how are you doing?" And ignore the entire like,
The new
yeah,
audience.
because that's my business. My
Right.
business is to engage with the people to get them to keep engaging with what I'm doing because I feel like I have a purpose with what I'm doing.
Hmm.
Some people don't have a direction, and that's fine. Not all people work in scenarios where having a direction is the thing to have. But in my case, I hyper focus on those things because, in my opinion, I call that in marketing and branding, I call that hand to hand combat.
Mm.
Because hand to hand combat is the best way that you can engage with somebody and kind of like, because you're right there, like your energy fields are super close to each other. And that's the thing, like, you can feel somebody's like energy when you're close to them. You can feel like if they're in a good mood or if they're in a bad mood by their body language, by their facial expressions, and you want to get those people who are, digging into what you're putting down.
Right. It's the same exact reason why I have all my guests come in person.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
For the most part. I might have to make some exceptions coming up.
Yeah. Right.
However,
Right. Right.
but I desperately want people to be in person because first off, you don't have to deal with technology issues, which is first
Yeah.
and foremost. But second off, it's much nicer to be talking to a person than to a screen.
Well, now we're able to do a little bit more of that, so that's
That is true, but
very good.
even still, you're tangible right now. You know
Yeah.
what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. I get it.
Over a screen, it's less so.
Yeah.
And I feel like having ADHD, I'm way less engaged on screen than I am in person.
It's not as good for your eyes either.
Right, it's also true. Unless you get
harder
those
to be engaged.
blue
Right?
lens,
Yeah,
blue
right.
lens glasses. Not sponsored.
Yeah, right.
So what? You made your way around here, and then all of a sudden you decided to go to Key West.
Yeah, it didn't quite go like that, but yeah,
Well, yeah.
it
So
was
tell
fast.
me how it happened.
So I was doing stuff with like I had gone to a bunch of different music conferences. I'd gone to like the Millennium Music Conference. I'd gone to the Cape May Singer Songwriter Music Conference. I'd gone to Launch Music Conference, which is right here in Lancaster. And I started like meeting like just bands from other places, and I started like networking with them. And so one time I was playing at the Millennium Music Conference, and Shank's Tavern, the place that I host open mics and stuff. So they post the day that I'm playing like a show over there for the showcase for the Millennium thing. I'm over in Harrisburg, and it's like February, so there's like ice. It's cold.
Mm-hmm.
It's winter. And then Shanks is like, "Hey, we're gonna have a battle. We're gonna have a singer songwriter competition." I'm like, I could do both. And they're like, no. My friends are like, no, man, you got your own showcase. You're good. And I'm like, no, I could do both. Like, you're gonna have to leave. And I'm like, yeah, fast.
Yeah.
And so they're looking at me like I'm crazy. And so I went by myself. I finished my showcase. I was like, hey man, I'm leaving everything here but my guitar and myself. I'll be back in like 3 hours. He's like, all right, I'll just put your stuff to the side here.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. I trust these people. I've seen them for like years and years. So I dip off going 90 down the highway. Not getting pulled over is great. Don't do this, kids, by the way. But I got there and I did the competition and I won. And that was kind of cool,
Yeah.
And they were all my friends, so we're all like really cool with each other. So it was like really not a big deal. It was like, oh man, like your performance today was great. But I was also at a show. My vocals were warmed up. My
Mm-hmm.
fingers were warmed up. Like when I went in there,
You were at the
I was
peak.
ready. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was ready. Um, and I was excited. I'm amped that I like played a show. I'm like rushing to this place. Like I'm feeling that.
Full adrenaline,
Yeah,
yep.
I gave it all I had. So I took it home and I met this guy named Steve Schlegel, and he works with this company called Shenanigator Entertainment. And so he starts booking me around, and I'm like, man, you're like booking me all over the place. Like, can we like book a tour? He's like, sure. Where do you want to go? And I made a joke and was like, I want to go to Key West before I retire. And I'm like 23. Like, I just
Right.
thought the joke was funny. And then I was like, well, I'm like, my sister's down there in Clearwater. I could go visit her. And I get down there, I'm visiting with her, and I'm like, man, I'm closest to Key West as I'm ever going to be. Might as well just drive. So I went down there, and, I like, in the meantime, before this happened, before I drive down, like, he's messaging these places, and, like, I want to play here, I want to play here, I want to play here. No replies. So he gets back to me, he's like, hey, man, it's not going to work. So when I went down and visited my sister, I'm like, well, I'm going to go down anyway. So I'm trying to get in, trying to talk to bartenders, whoever, hey, here's my card, here's my CD. Just whole, like, 2 days of that. And then I heard no replies, nothing. And then I was, like, kind of aggravated, I was like, I want to get out of here. My friend's like, well, I need to go to the bathroom, so let's stop at this place. I'm like, no, I want to get out of here. You can pee at a gas station. Like, I want to leave. I was upset. They're like, no, I need to go now. I'm like, fine. So we stopped, and the last place we stopped, of course, is like this dude who, his name's Matt, and he is one of my greatest friends down there right now. And he plugged my stuff, and next thing you know, I'm getting invited to come down there. So I was in January of like 2018, and then I went down in July for 5 days with a dude from LVC. We did an LVC project together, and then he interned with me. So I was like, "Hey man, how you wanna intern and go to Key West?" And he was like, "Yeah." So we went down and did that thing, and then I got invited to go back for 2 weeks in October over their big fantasy festival. It's like Key West Mardi Gras celebration thing.
Oh.
They have like a thing, big cultural whatever. So they have like a parade, floats, and the whole thing. And so I got offered to go down and cover this guy for 2 weeks. And he was associated, he had won America's Got Talent or whatever.
Ooh,
So he was
wow.
down there, and I'm not a name dropper, so I'm not going to drop names, but it was cool. And I got to cover 2 weeks of his shows, and he's like, hey man, I think that you should come down here. The scene wants you. You know, I think we need what you got here. So that was like the first time other than being like home where somebody was like, hey, like we want you.
Mm.
Like not like, hey man, we need more people in the scene. Like no, like you should come down. So he helped me find a spot, and then I moved down. So it was in October of 2018. I moved down in December that year. It's like 2 months later I moved, and it all happened pretty quick. But when I got down there, it worked out. And then when the pandemic thing hit, I couldn't hold on to the apartment, you know, just because of the way money was.
Mm-hmm.
So I moved back and stayed with a buddy here, and then when everything opened back up, I found an apartment and moved in by myself, and pretty much been there ever since.
Key West.
Pretty much.
So what is it like down there?
Hot.
Hot, humid.
I get cold when I come up here.
Really?
Yeah, I'm sleeping with like 3 blankets right now.
But it's like 80.
No, like in like it's
Oh,
like
no.
65 where I'm staying,
Oh, gotcha. Fair enough.
and my house stays at like 71 at the lowest.
That's ridiculous.
You know, but out there it's like, you know, high 80s every day. You know,
Yeah.
and then, you know, when in the summer it's like 90s,
Mm.
high 90s.
Is it humid? I imagine so.
So, well, we in Key West we have the ocean breeze.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's a day where it's breezy, it's absolutely perfect.
Oh,
It's
really?
like a perfect summer day here. But if it's not breezy, it's hot.
It's hot.
Yeah, it's hot.
Sticky.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing I'm not excited about.
Well, I had to buy a bunch of different clothes. I had to buy like the moisture wicking t-shirts, you know, and I have to like, you know, when I get there an hour before my show, so I set up all my stuff, and then I have to take a change of clothes because I'm drenched.
Oh no.
But I play at the resort, so I'll just get drenched, take a quick dip in the pool, towel dry off, put on the new stuff, and it's great. Ready to go.
It's probably
Ready
a
to
lot
go.
of fun, actually.
And I have a big fan. Set it on 3 the whole time.
Right.
It's great. Works out.
So, what is the life like down in Key West? You said it's a 2 mile by 4 mile island.
Yeah, 2 by 4 miles.
So,
Our speed limits are 35. So when I have to come up here and I get on the highway and we're going 65 and everybody else is going 70, I'm like, okay, this is weird. And then like, you know, 3 or 4 days here, I'm like, okay, I think I can drive 45 on this hilly road.
right.
You know, and it's like.
So, how do you get gigs down there? Or are you a resident or a musician at a resort?
Yeah, networking. I mean, you know, the people down there, you know, everybody kind of has like, we don't have like roles so much as we like understand that we're cogs in the wheel that makes that scene what it is, you know, the local people. And so, you know, we all understand how it is. So we're you know, adjusting stuff all the time. I mean, I didn't want to drive back home over 4th of July because it's going to be traffic anyways. I'd rather leave the day after.
Mm-hmm.
So I extended my trip, and I'm like, hey, I need someone to cover these 2 gigs. Put it out on Facebook. I had, you know, 7 replies within 25 minutes. So then I messaged the venue. I'm like, hey, here's the people who want in, and then they go and pick the one that they want. And then I go, okay, you got it, and then, you know, whatever. And then they do the same thing, like, you know, big emails, big like group texts, where it's the venue owner and all the people who play, and they go, hey, so-and-so's going away for 2 weeks. Here are the dates available. Take your pick. And then we all work it out. And if you're busy and you're not responding to your phone, then you're going to miss that gig.
That's wild.
You know? But then we also have, like, rotation things. So, like, I play, like, every Friday night with a trio at this resort. And I play every Wednesday this time at this resort.
Mm-hmm.
So unless I call off or unless, you know, I switch with somebody else, those are my time slots. And then there's some of the more sought-after places that are much harder to get into. Like, the places you'll email and they won't message you back.
Mm.
That's because we're just constantly, no, we're not fighting over it. Like, it's not a dog-eat-dog kind of thing. It's like oh, hey, can you do this? Well, this day's actually better for me. So if I could do this day and you could do that day, that'd be better. And they're like, okay, solved. You know, so it's like that. And then, you know, each one of the boat, like, places down there, like, either whether it's, like, Fury or Sebago or, you know, Sunset Water Sports, like, they're all different, like, companies that have boats.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I have a group chat with, like, the Sebago people. And then the people who work for Fury have a group chat with the Fury people. So it's like we all have kind of, you know, it's all kind of fluid like that. And then we all pull each other in. We go, hey, man, Justin's been doing this, and, you know, it was really cool, so you should try him out. So then they'll hit me up, and I'm like, hey, man, thanks for the referral. Thanks for making me, you know, X amount of dollars. Let me take you out for dinner sometime, you know? You know, you kind of pay your respects like that. But I'm actually wearing a wristband they make there. It says One Human Family. And that's, like, their whole thing is, like, their whole like Key West ideology is like one human family.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, so it works out. Everybody's pretty cool with each other. And if people are not cool with each other, then you quickly figure out that you're on a 2 by 4 mile island, and you better figure it out.
Right.
So it kind of forces people to either like, avoid the people that you're not really getting along with, or work it out because we all have to live here. And so things are actually really relaxed. Like it's low key, it's chill. I can play 3 gigs in a day and not drive more than 15 miles, which is great. Whereas before I was living here and I'm like, oh, I got to drive an hour and a half here to get here an hour early to set up, play 3 hours, and I got to pack up in 45 minutes, and I got to drive an hour and a half back home. Like you can see the time and what you're making versus somewhere like that where you're like zoop, 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 zoop. Much better.
Yeah, that's is it kind of like New York City where everything is just packed all out, or
No, not really. I mean, we have busy seasons and slow seasons. Same thing as pretty much everywhere else.
I mean, in regards to like buildings.
No, I don't. No, I don't think it's overcrowded. I mean,
No?
Key West has a restrictive building like permit stuff, so they want to keep it like old looking. So some of those buildings were built by like, like Cuban families. Some of those houses were built by like the people who designed like the French Quarter in New Orleans. So they're like they're not in a quick mood to
get rid of that.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any stilt houses out there like on the water or anything?
Oh yeah, all the time. Yeah, you see them when you come down. Yeah, all along the ways. Not so much on Key West because most of the direct like water to like land on Key West is all resorts, pretty much surrounding the whole island. Like, hey, here's your waterfront view. Here's your waterfront view. Here's your waterfront view.
Maybe not as many beaches on Key West.
I mean, there's beaches, but I mean, most of the island is resort.
That must be a lot of fun.
You get a Long Beach on one side, Long Beach on the other side, resorts the whole other way around.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Gotcha. That's interesting.
It's great. Water's clear. You can see your feet.
Yeah, that's
fantastic.
That's something I'm really excited for.
Snorkeling is awesome.
Yeah.
Snorkeling is great.
What's the wildlife down there? Is there
bunch?
Tons.
Oh yeah.
Go out there and you see like any jellyfish or like sharks.
Tons of jellyfish, tons of sharks, tons of but nothing
turtles.
Turtles. You see turtles. See crabs. You see I see barracuda all the time. I see rainbow parrotfish all the time. Yeah, gorgeous wildlife. Well, I go down there and there's a spot over by the Loggerheads Beach Bar, which is just like a spot, a little like cafe on the beach, sand and stuff. And I snorkel out there, and you can be swimming. I went down there, and I'm not even in 6 foot of water, and I dive under, and I have my goggles on, my snorkel goggles on, and I'm like looking around, and I see like literally a school of like 300 silverfish, and they're just swimming underneath everybody, and nobody can tell because the ripples of the sun in the water, you can't even see them. And they're just like around everywhere. Like I was swimming, I was in the middle of them. They were the whole way around me. It was incredible.
That's awesome,
yeah,
dude.
You feel super one with nature.
Yeah,
which is cool. And it like interacts, which is cool.
That's,
like when if I go to like swim in their way, they'll like move around
you,
and I'm just like, what the heck? Like on my Instagram, there was a guy who had a monkey. It was a guy who had a spider monkey like in his bicycle seat. I don't know what it was for, but he had a monkey. I was like, dude, let me hold your monkey. He was like, $20. I'm like, fine, here, let me hold your monkey.
$20 to hold a monkey?
Yeah. So it was like the spider monkey. I thought I was gonna drop it, but it's a monkey. Like it like knows what it's doing. Yeah. So I'm like dropping it. It's just like whatever, bro. It's like super lanky.
It's probably having fun.
Yeah. I was playing over at a dockside place and somebody had a pet possum. So they put her on my leg. There's a picture of Instagram. I'm sitting there at a gig with my guitar on my lap, and there's a possum. Yeah, and I played a whole song. I played a blues song, and I called it "Pocket the Possum for President."
That's freaking incredible, man.
It's funny.
Yeah. I can't I bet you if you ask that person to be like, hey, can I borrow your monkey for a gig? And just have your monkey sat on the shoulder. He's playing.
The monkey had a diaper on. I wouldn't be worried about it.
Yeah, I know, but it's. I mean, that's the point. I'd be like, it'd be so cool.
People play gigs with their dogs.
Yeah.
They have like a dog just sit there. Their cat sits there, or whatever, and they have a show, and they're like, tip my cat, pay for cat litter.
Dude, that's a vibe and a half, man.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, you get to pet the dogs and stuff. Yeah.
So how like I guess they have the venues have to be super lax with like animals.
Some of them. Yeah, some of them are. I mean, some places they won't let them in, but a lot of places they do. You can go out to an outdoor restaurant and take your dog.
That's
Yeah.
that's fun, man.
Yeah, I mean they just let it happen because it's like, bro, everyone's on vacation, everybody's in a good mood, and
Right.
it doesn't. And the thing that I specifically love about Key West is that it doesn't matter. Like, dude, like when I wake up in the morning and I go outside to get the mail or the paper or whatever, get the weekly thing. I go outside, I wake up in the morning just like everybody else. You walk out and you're on an island. You smell that nice island air. You take it all in. I go down and I'm like, hey guys, taking our recycling out. And the guy's like, hey man, how you doing? How's your morning? Like he's a trash guy and he's like super happy to be alive. And there's like tree trimmers sweating. People on the roofs like in the Key West heat in the sun like sweating. I'm like, hey man, how you doing? They're like, hey, like everybody's just stoked to be there. And
That's
and
so
it creates a cool environment. And I feel like it kind of avoids the toxic positivity thing because there's some people who like everything's all good on the surface, but they're really not doing great,
right.
And I feel like Key West doesn't have a ton of that. Like, there's definitely its cases, everywhere is going to have its percentage of that. But I think specifically because you live in a place that, you're kind of grateful to be in every day, I feel like, that's,
Right. If you could wake up and see the sunrise over the ocean every day, I
yeah,
feel like it's good. Granted, I hate humidity. I
right.
I grew up in Salisbury, Maryland, which is on the peninsula.
I can't tell you how much of the percentage time that you're going to hate when you're there, but
Well,
it'll vary.
yeah, well, because it might be different. Because in Salisbury, like around there, you wake up, it's just, granted, it's just forest, which is also beautiful in its own right. But it's just flat. It's not that interesting. It's kind of industrial, so it's kind of just sticky and gross because of the whatever pollution might be around.
Right, right.
But I feel like if you're like out on an island, and correct me if I'm wrong, are there any skyscrapers on over there, Key West? Or
No, the tallest thing that we have is a old school. We have an old school hotel. It's the tallest hotel on the island, and that's
so
that's
it's
it.
like, is it like the Marriott kind of?
Not even that
Not even
tall.
that tall.
No, I mean it's
Wow.
pretty tall. I mean it's pretty tall, but it's not as tall as like the Exchange. You know what I mean?
Gotcha. Yeah.
It's pretty tall, but honestly, man, like you can mostly see over the tree. They want you to see the water.
Well, of course,
You
and
know?
that's what I mean. Like having to wake up in a spot where, yeah, maybe it's sticky, but you get to see all the beautiful, like you see the beautiful water. You get to see all the trees. Correct me if I'm wrong. Well, there are palm trees
Yeah,
there,
palm
right?
trees, tons of palm trees.
Yeah, so like you get to see all that, and if you really want to, if you're really feeling hot and sticky, you can just go in the water and just chill
Hmm.
out with fish.
Pretty much.
I feel like that's just way beyond whatever. Because if you're in New York City and it's humid, it's over. You're sad. You're grumpy.
There are people who wake up and love New York City, though. I'll tell you that.
That is 100%
But there are also
true.
people who wake up and don't love New York City,
Right.
you know?
And especially when it gets like the power goes out and it's hot and sticky, like that's like the entire plot line of In the Heights,
Right.
where it's just uncomfortable.
Well, there's a guy who wrote a book down there. It's called Quit Your Job and Move to Key West. And he like made it on like the bestseller list or whatever, and I haven't read it yet, but it's one of those things where, after like doing it without knowingly doing it,
Hmm.
I was kind of just like, yeah, I get it. Like I get the philosophy of this book, you
Right.
know? And I feel like my life has quieted down a lot since moving there. Like it's interesting. Like if you live on Duval Street where everyone's partying all the time and drinking all the time, like it's rowdy.
Hmm.
It's fun and it's safe. Like you can walk there in the early evening night, and you're totally safe. Like you're not.
Like low crime.
Yeah, we're not. Yeah, we're really not. Yeah, like there's not a lot of crime down there.
That's surprising.
Yeah,
For
I mean,
vacation
it's great.
spot.
You get people who get a little bit intoxicated, but we don't punish people too hard because it's an open carry town. You can carry your solo cup all over
That's
the town. So,
oh, drinking.
yeah.
I thought
So because
my
it's
mind went to
yeah,
guns.
because it's super well no, because it's super relaxed. So like everyone's just carrying around their drinks, and you're not really worried about stuff. And we have like a big no litter policy. They have like street sweepers that clean the roads every night and stuff. So it's like it's a pretty clean place.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I sure they have to be because to keep the oceans clean and the beaches clean, that's kind of their money draw.
Yeah, I mean, they have to keep it as a tourism spot and also keep it, you know, reserved.
Reserved, right?
Yeah.
It is, isn't it? Is Key West a national preserved place?
The Florida Keys in general are a
Yeah,
protected area.
right.
Yeah.
Do you guys ever have issues with any? I guess that you're not really in the area for alligators, are you?
No, we are not. No, a little north, a little bit north. Go north, north, north. You'll find them in Key Largo. Get a little bit thinner. Not as many in Almirada. And by the time you get to us, it's just the most thing you got to worry about where we're at is probably like the man o' war jellyfish when they're in season. You'll see them like floating around. If those one of those sting you, it hurts.
Yeah, I've always been hesitant to go into water during because sometimes they'll have like jellyfish larvae come all the way up the coast
Mm-hmm.
on the east coast,
Yep.
and if you get some of those stuck, because they are like the tiniest things, you won't get stung by them until you're out of the water,
Mm-hmm.
and so they'll get stuck in your swimsuit and everything, and it's god awful.
That's why you swim in the Gulf Coast.
It's so yeah, that's I
It's
can't.
great. You'll love it.
Yeah. For those who don't know, I'm planning a road trip to go down to Key West, and that's actually how I got connected with Justin here. And
Through
I'm
Liam, right?
what
Through Liam.
Liam, yeah,
Yeah.
Liam Galliano. He was the fifth guy maybe I had on. I'm pretty sure. Check him out. He's an awesome bass player.
I love Liam. Liam's a great dude. I used to play over there at Stouts all the time. Him and I became friends. I played a bunch of open mics and stuff with him, and then I hired him out to do a couple bass gigs with me. Every time I play with him, we've had a fantastic time. He's a great human being, and like
Awesome dude.
all the people over there at up there at Stouts it's just great. So I loved it over there.
So what's the reason for coming back to Lancaster every now and then?
Well, the first time I came back, we had like a studio thing, so I came back for that, and the second time I came back, one of my friends, one of our friends from Field of Screams, one of our like mentors and buddies had passed away, so I came in for the funeral. I wasn't gonna miss that, and then this time we're back here. We're recording a single over there at Rock Lidditz, or with the guys from Atrium. So the guys that
Yeah.
work with August Burns Red. So we were messing with those guys, and I thought it was interesting because I've known Carson. Carson actually recorded my old metal band like way back in the day, like
Oh,
when I was in
wow.
high school, and I had seen him doing like the audio engineering thing and seeing us just kind of sitting there like during like the mixing phase and stuff. And I was like, we're not. He's really doing stuff. Like we're not really doing anything. So I actually later ended up going to school for audio engineering, and now I'm certified. So I can thank Carson for that experience tenfold. And then I'd met him a bunch more times at the music conferences. And when I went over to Think Loud, Grant McFarland, the guy that we just cut the single with, who he was the one recording it with us, and then Carson's going to help mix and stuff. Um, I had known him from Think Loud, so I know he could do that genre. So I think it's funny that like we cut like a country, like bluegrassy, twangy single with people who were like metal Grammy Award winning metal producers.
Really?
Oh yeah, and it went awesome.
You gotta
So
connect me with some of those people.
yeah, it's fun. It's really fun.
So why record here in Lancaster, PA when not Key West?
My boys are here.
Fair enough.
My
Good.
drummer's here. And the people that I still work with. Like when I go home, I record songs and send it to them, and then they record stuff and write to it in the studio and send it back to me, and then I'll use it online for a multitude of purposes. Whether I'm trying to get it into a commercial or a TV show,
Mm.
just use an instrumental for some kind of background or some video thing I'm working on for YouTube. I mean, I'm working with them and talking to them all the time.
What are some ways that you can get into commercials, TV, stuff like that?
I mean, there are people around who do it. I know a couple friends in town who like do commercials for like places like Penn Cinema and Rudders and things like that.
So you mean in town in Lancaster?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So there are people who do that, and then there's like national conventions. So there's a convention in Dallas or Texas. It's either Dallas or Austin. It's called SyncCon, like SYNC Con. You pay like $300 or $400, and you get a laminate. And if you go in there, you can make connections with people who like music supervisors who work for HBO, who work for stars, who work for Hulu and Netflix. And if you meet the right person, I mean, you can get your song on like Stranger Things if it'll fit, and you just have to make those connections and be professional. I mean, I have my own publishing company like license, so when I go in to talk to these people, it's very professional. I'm wearing a suit, like we're doing that whole thing. It's a process.
I'm sure.
Yeah, but I mean, it's possible. You can do it. I know people who put their. I mean, I've met guys who've had their like stuff on like Cialis commercials and stuff, like just like the background of their music. I'm like, bro, that's your song, and they're like, yeah,
Yeah, I know.
it's my song. I made like
Whatever.
made this much money. I'm like, dude, that's crazy.
Right.
See, because the thing that like gets my mind blowing is when like when Rudders isn't playing like the radio, like when you like, and maybe Rudders is a bad example. When I come up and when I'm like driving up the Keys or whatever, and I stop at a gas station, I say like, "You're on Cheddar News, a music
Hmm.
band." I'm like, how do you get on that? Like I'm
Right.
like, how do I like get played at like a gas station? How do I get played in like the lobby of like a movie theater? Like
Mm.
those are the things I want to do because I think it's difficult. So I'm
Right.
like,
And
so that's like to me, that's like a door that's like closed. Where I'm like, how do I kick this door in? Like, how do I, those are the things that like get me because like, whereas like somebody be like, oh, I want to play in front of millions of people. Well, I just want to get my stuff into where I think it shouldn't be,
well, I mean,
and that's
that's
where,
kind of that is kind of millions of people. If you're gonna get
yeah,
your stuff played in a movie theater, you gotta think of how many people go to the movies.
a lot,
Literally everybody
yeah.
in the that's not Amish,
And
right?
yeah, and all the kids, Shazam. So like,
Right.
before you know it, I mean, I know people who they're literally like hermit people who just write music in their room, and then they get 53,000 Shazams on one song. You're like, oh, I love this artist, and they're like, bro, all this guy does is sit in his room, and
What's Shazam?
they're like, well, yeah. So Shazam is like they make a bunch of different ones, but Shazam is an app where, like, if the radio's playing, you can press a button and it'll like listen to the song, and if it can it tries to locate it with the metadata from the track. Like that's how. So
Oh,
yeah,
so
so it
it's like when you're playing a song that you don't know of, it's
yeah,
just,
I just pull my
that's
phone out. I
right.
pull my phone out and go, "What's this?" And then it'll pull up the song,
That's right.
and it'll tell me how many Shazams it has. So I was like, it's crazy. But I know like people who just do like lo-fi study music, and then people are like, "What's this? This is my favorite. I like this. Put on this hour mix or whatever." But that's how I discover a lot of my music if because when I'm out, if I notice something and I like it and I Shazam it, then I know later, like I don't have to worry like, oh, do I like this song? I'll just add it to my Apple Music library
Hmm.
and then go, okay, like yeah, I like this, and then it'll suggest more things like that because I'm just selecting music that like when we're in a conversation or something, or I'm at a gas station getting gas. If I'm like, oh, I actually really like
Hmm.
I'm already making a playlist that I'm predisposed to like, rather than like, oh, what's new on Spotify this Friday? Like I could care
Right.
less about that. Like if you can pull me in when I'm at a gas station, if you can pull me in when I'm shopping at a grocery store, I've literally been at a Barnes and Noble in the library reading like a book, and I'm like, oh, I like this song, and I'll like if you can pull me when I'm not trying to listen to music, that's how I know you're a good band.
Right.
Like I don't need you to play a show at the Giant Center and have lights and pyrotechnics. If you can pull me out of something that I'm doing, I know you're doing it right.
Right.
That's that I can have confidence in that,
That's an interesting perspective because if you're at the Giant Center with a bunch of pirates, you're obviously going to be pulling in people
You're already
because
there.
you're already there. Exactly.
Uh-huh.
There's no. I'm not engaged at that point.
Yeah, I like the dude who's like, this is some random band from Chicago and they just happen to know a guy who got their thing on a thing and here we
Right.
are. Like that's the story I want to find.
Right. That's the music that really needs to be heard. Most
Mhm. Oh yeah.
the stuff at the Giant Center has probably been heard 1,000 million times anyway.
Yeah, more than likely.
More than likely, that's why they're at the Giant Center.
They're still getting paid for it too.
And they still get paid. So, what have you ever been successful in getting your stuff on any notable like commercials or anything?
I've had a bunch of cool stuff happen. I'm on a bunch of different like interviews and podcasts. I've had a bunch of instrumental music that I've given to people for their YouTube channels, like for things that have like a bunch of views.
Mm-hmm.
I've done like mixing for people who like have their stuff on like a lo-fi playlist, and now the lo-fi playlist, it's like an hour or something long, and I just worked on that one track, but they put in the playlist and that playlist has like 4.1 million views. So like I'm working with stuff where it's a thing, you
So,
know. But I'm not really the guy who's gonna be like, hey, my thing's on this thing.
right, of
Like
course.
that's not who I want to be. I'd rather work on something and then be like, oh, you're the one who worked on that. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah,
Like I'd
yeah.
rather somebody learn about the work and enjoy it rather than me having to throw it in their faces. Not that branding and marketing is a bad thing, because when I market my shows, I market when I'm doing singles. I make all kinds of stuff for that. But when I'm doing things, specifically to learn,
Hmm.
I don't want to like overly promote that because I feel like it's disingenuous to be like, hey, this is the big moments of every single thing that I do. Like I really don't want to be I don't want to be like a clout provider. I want to be somebody who's like, hey man, this was pretty cool. This is what I was doing. This is what I think is important. And then, sometimes I just want to help a friend and work on their mixing project without, and sometimes about respect. Like if somebody has, a lot more followers than you or a lot more whatever, like you have to let them repost you or share your thing on their terms. That's not the time like for you to go, oh hey, I'm working with so and so, like that. It's just not the time. It's not what makes you look like you have class. And that's really important to me because all the people that I respect and idolize have tact.
Mm-hmm.
And that's important to me. I think how you treat people and how you act in these professional relationships, I think that is what put me there. I don't think me being, like the Island Boys is going to put me there,
It's
and that's a personal choice.
Right, yeah, no, that's
It's
definitely a personal choice because it's tricky for me who's just like starting up the podcast. Do like questions, ethical questions that some
Right.
people agree with, don't agree with. Do I tag the person in the promo? My answer was, well, yeah, because whoever's interested on at least on my side of things, people who are already subscribed might want to check them out. So I'll tag the music or the links. And granted, I think that's just a goodwill thing to do.
But your thing warrants it. Like,
yeah, right.
It's different if like someone sends me a thing where they're like, "Hey, man, you're good at branding. I want you to listen to my song. I want you to listen to the mix." And if I like, say, "Hey, man, I love your mix. I love this. I love that. But here's what I did to it. Tell me what you think." If they like that and choose to use that, that's great. But that's not the moment for me to kick the door down and go, "I'm working with big name drop gavel, boom, boom, boom." Like, that's just not the time. It's much better if that person goes, hey, thanks to so-and-so for helping me out on this. You really made a big difference. It feels better.
Right.
It's more genuine. And if you can do that without coercing people into it, it's fantastic.
Yeah,
what you're doing is different because what you're doing is molded for the cross-promotion of organic marketing.
Right.
That's not what I'm talking about.
Gotcha.
I'm talking when some dude gets, a mixing beat on like a Machine Gun Kelly song, and then all of a sudden they're like, I'm someone from nowhere and I'm working with Machine Gun Kelly. It's just like, bro, if you're not taking pictures of Machine Gun Kelly, if you're not actively working with his people, if he's not shouting you out, you shouldn't be shouting it out because he's not going to work with you again.
Right.
And I don't care who it is. Like, it doesn't matter. Insert artist name here, But that's the thing is like I try to know like the when and where. I feel like the when and where is what makes you
right, and
trustworthy.
And it's also it's because if you're like name dropping then that's a lot of ego, right?
Well, I mean it's cool like when my like I have friends from Nashville who work with people on the Nashville songwriting board. They work with like people who work on Columbia Records, and they're like, hey man, me and so and so and so and so and so and so worked with producer so and so and so and so in so and so studio, and we did this song for Luke Bryan. Like, right? That's cool because they're just, to them, it's a business.
Right.
But that's different than them going, I wrote a Luke Bryan song. You know what I'm saying? Right. Like, there's tact, there's a way to do it. And even, and then there are some people who, just, they'll just sit there and go, well, so-and-so on so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so. And it drives the purpose away from themselves. Because you're always like deferring to somebody else. And to me, like as an independent artist, I always want to be deferring to my style. I want the focus to be on what I contributed, and I want the contribution to be meaningful enough to the people involved that they want to engage and share it.
So, how have you experimented to, is that a learning process or is that just trying to reach out your tendrils into different spaces and see what picks up?
Well, so I played my first show down here, over at 551 last Friday, and I hadn't played here in played a show here in almost 4 years.
And that was like on the spot.
Yeah, it was a pop-up show. It was the day before. So, and I had just called, the guy and was like, "Hey, man, I want to come check out the renovations." He's like, "Well, we just happen to have someone cancel." So I picked up the gig, and I didn't really do a lot of promotion. I was just curious, like, how many people show up on the fly? And then I normally do lives at my shows, and I didn't do a live there, and I did it on purpose. I'm like, if I don't do anything, if I just have my phone sitting here, if I don't do anything, how many people pull out their phones?
Mm.
Turns out a ton, but I haven't been here in a minute, and I promoted it right, and the people who came are the people who I would expect to come. So it's different. Like I do those experiments with myself because like this Friday when we do Hideaway, I'm gonna do a live.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because I already did the test of if I didn't do it. Now I'm gonna do the test of when I do it. I'm gonna see what felt more rewarding to me, because that's what's gonna make me feel better, and that's what's gonna make me not go into the situation being like, oh, I gotta do this again.
Right.
Anything that I can do to avoid that is like the best. Longevity has always been the key.
Yeah, that's the key with anything that you're trying to
Right.
build. It's
Right.
literally longevity. You got to keep. Granted, you can't. It's sustainability, and it's a roller coaster for sure, and it's something you have to manage for sure. But if you're trying to make a decent living or trying to turn a business into like a long time thing, it really is about longevity. You can't give up.
Yeah.
Especially when things get dark.
Right. I mean, that's not even my concern. I mean, my concern is not really like giving up when things get dark. My concern is like, how do you fix a mistake when you unknowingly make one?
That's another great question.
That's the tough one. And so I find myself going in the direction of how do I minimize my mistakes? Not minimize my failures, because I always learn from my failures. Like if I dive bomb something really hard or it just doesn't go over well, like I've already learned a bunch from it. But it's like when you're doing something and you're in the moment, and I don't have a great example, but it's just when you come across these things where you were doing what you thought you should have been doing and it doesn't go in your favor in like a big way.
Right.
Like I feel like how you deal with that and how you deal with the people and how you deal with the scenario, I feel like it says a lot about who you are. And there are times to like bend and compromise, and there are times to stand your ground and go,
oh, for sure.
No, this is how I feel. And I feel like a lot of that, if I gotta sleep with it at night. So that's the thing. It's like I just gotta do what I gotta do for me, and they gotta do what they gotta do for them, and I just try to keep them in my mind, because if I keep them in my mindset and I start trying to be very considerate about everybody involved, even if they're not considerate, I still feel better about the situation.
Right.
Because I'm doing my part. I'm pulling my weight. If they're not going to pull their weight, that's fine, but I can't get aggravated about it because there's not a difference I can make in it. I'm showing the example. I'm giving the example. If you're not going to retort on that example, that is not my place to judge or demean or do anything like that. Like, you're not doing what you're doing. Like, I play a bunch of shows and I'm busy all the time. I don't look down on people who don't play a lot of shows or aren't busy all the time. We're different people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I need constant stimulation. Some people do not.
Yeah.
And gotta keep that in mind.
Bringing back to your point of unknowingly making a mistake, there was a recent interaction I had where I was just reaching out and I thought nothing of it, but the person had reached out in a different light, and I was like, I had to take a step back and really change my perspective.
Reassess it, yeah, of course.
Reassess it, and it kind of made me think of a different way, and it's not that I didn't disrespect this person, because I greatly respect this person, and I greatly respect that he was honest with me and the way of how he felt.
That's a big one too. Is that if everybody's giving full disclosure, I feel like the situation's easier.
It's so much easier than if I send the message and you read and then don't respond, and then you deteriorate that relationship because it's you didn't say how you felt.
Yeah.
Right. And then there's that whole question of, okay, where are we at now?
That's funny that you say that, because I actually posted a thing, and this doesn't even apply to me right now. I'm in a relationship with somebody that I've been with for a bit, and they're very supportive and very loving and very caring, and I'm super grateful for that. But there was a thing I saw on Facebook. It said, instead of ghosting someone, why don't you say something like, I had a good time with you, things just aren't working out for me. I think we're both good people. Take care.
Mm-hmm.
I think about, and I reposted it because, like, I feel like that could solve a lot of problems. I know it takes like tact and it's like bravery and stuff,
right?
But that's like the thing is, like, even though I'm not in that position, I still feel for the people who are in that position. I don't have to be going through that position to understand where I sit on that moral spectrum,
right?
And that's communication. And you can really only communicate as closely or as far away as somebody will allow you,
right?
And so you really have to, not take baby steps or walk on eggshells, but you really got to be present and like feel the room,
Yeah,
you
and
know?
it's a lot of politicking in some sort of sense,
Yeah, I mean,
like
I feel
social
like,
management, I guess.
yeah, I feel like the best thing, the times that I feel the best are the times that I don't feel the need to look at my phone, and that's
Hmm.
just something I intuitively understand. So if I find myself, if I'm in a situation, I'm just constantly looking at my phone and I'm not passing time, I'm just like somewhere and I'm not digging it, you know, I try to like bring my awareness up and go, okay, like if I'm feeling this way, like you got to like remember and then you got to go, okay, it's time to leave,
That
you
it
know,
that's something that I struggle with. I'm an introvert,
right,
and I only have so much room for social interaction. Even doing this,
right.
after this, I have to go and teach children, and I'm
Well,
like,
you exert energy, you exert yourself.
and then yeah, and then people want me to come out to open mics, and I'm like, listen, I'm burnt, man.
Yeah, you're like, I'm not in the place.
So but I'll go because I like hanging out, and I will go up and play music, but I will always be on my phone, and I know it in the moment. I was there last night at the Shamrock Cafe. By the way, it has open mics every first and third Wednesdays. Shamrock Cafe here in Lancaster starts at like what, 6, 7 maybe.
That's
Run by
cool.
a good friend Nathan Arndt.
Hmm.
But I was there last night, and I I was like, you know what? I'm having a break for a little bit, and I just realized I was on my phone. I wasn't really paying attention to anybody, and I was like, shoot, man, I don't want to do this,
Right,
but
right,
it's
right.
also I don't know what else to do.
Yeah, I mean, that's a thing like that you have to decide, like especially in Key West, you have to have like your discernment has to be in a place because
Mm-hmm.
like you'll go out with your friends and the next thing you know it's like hours and hours later and you're like, man, I really should have gotten more sleep,
Mm-hmm.
you know? It's, but I mean, at the same time, and it's funny. I just want to point out something. So like, I'm like a semi introvert. So like
Mm.
sometimes I'm introverted and sometimes I'm extroverted.
I'd
It
agree.
just
That's
it
kind
just
of where I'm
depends like
at, but yeah.
where you catch me. But at the same time, like it's hard. Like I just want to vocalize this. It's hard for an introvert because then by the time you finally convince yourself to go out, then everybody wants to talk to you
Is
because you don't go out and you kind of
exactly
like throwing like if you went every week, people be like, "Oh, hey man, how you doing?" But it's like it's if you don't go
because
and
you
you
go
don't,
out.
yeah, it's because you don't go out and then you go out and then everybody wants to bum rush you and you're like, "This is why I don't go out," you
This
know?
is exactly what,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's funny how it like, you're like the thing you don't want is the thing that happens because of the mannerisms of the way you're approaching it. Like
Hmm.
that's like the stuff I like getting into and go, "Well, how do I prevent this?"
Right.
You're like, "How do you fix this?" You know?
That is
You have two options. You can go every other week and cut off your time, and be like, "Oh, he comes in every other week at this time and he leaves at this time," or you can go in and be like, "Hey man, I'm really not in the place to like be engaging. I came here to just like,
enjoy.
yeah, I came here to vibe."
Right.
I didn't come here to have a 25-minute conversation that I'm really not in the place to have. And that takes courage
It
to be able to
does.
be upfront with somebody and be like, I respect you, I care about you, I hope you're having a great evening. Maybe we'll be able to talk, but like right now, bro, like I just got off
Hmm.
work. I'm trying to chill. And some people take that really well and some people don't, but the people who take that really well, those are my friends.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. If you don't take that well, that says a lot about you and your priorities, for
Right.
sure.
Yeah.
It's you got to let people live.
Gotta let people do what they're gonna do.
Yeah. So we got some of your songs here.
Yeah.
You want to
Yeah.
talk about them?
Yeah, so which one do you think you're gonna play first?
Let's talk about Lady Liberty.
Yeah, so Lady Liberty was done with Bobby Gentillo over there at Right Coast Recording.
Oh yeah.
And we did that. It was me, a guy named Dustin Love who's out of Mechanicsburg. He's off doing other things now. He's a great drummer.
Yeah, I know
Yeah,
him.
great
Yeah.
drummer. And then we worked with Aaron Dressat. And Aaron was a player over there at the American Music Theater. And he
I
had,
don't know him.
yeah, and then well now he works for the Air Force Band, Max Impact.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so he's great. We keep in touch. I was calling him on the trip up and stuff, but he's a phenomenal keyboard player, and so I went in to go do that, and then Brendan Stengel from Music for Everyone is actually
Yes.
playing the bass on this song.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so so that was the old lineup, and then Aaron hooked me up with James, who I'm playing with now.
Clipple, right?
Yeah, he hit me up with James. So when he had to go do his thing, and then Brendan had a kid, so I started playing with Bobby Fry because that's who my drummer Jamie plays with. and I've been wanting to be in a band with Jamie for literally forever. Like my dad knew him, like they played together. The dude's a monster drummer, Berkeley grad, you know.
Oh wow.
Killer dude as a drum school. Like he's a guy I wanted to work with. So now that I'm finally working with him, it's like, yeah, I'm sticking here. You know, this is where I want to be. And then I found Kyle Hancock, our guitar player, after all that, and Kyle Hancock is also on the guitar on Lady Liberty.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So what's the song about?
So this song, I made it like a metaphor. It's pretty on the nose, but I thought Lady Liberty was a cool. I thought there'd be cool to have I wanted to write a semi-political song that would make people go like, I don't know if I like this, and then have like an assumption of which direction I'm gonna go, and so they're like sitting there kind of
hate listening almost.
Yeah, like they're like, oh, where's this gonna go? Like, am I not gonna like this? And by the end, I stay pretty neutral. So by the end, like it's kind of like a thing that makes you contemplate, like, where am I at on that spectrum, you know? Because I feel like everybody can resonate. Like, I try to write songs that a vast majority of people will resonate with it. That's my goal, is to connect with as many people.
The truth is, a lot of people politically are neutral.
Yeah, and so I wanted to write something that kind of like fought on the verge of that, and I feel like Lady Liberty was a great thing, you know. I feel like it was a great song, but we recorded all on a 2-inch analog tape, so we did it the old school way and then converted to digital. Yeah, so all the takes, like, so if we wanted to redo a take,
you'd have to redo it all,
recut the tape. Yeah.
Oh,
so we did it track by track. So it's like, all right, man, like, you know. So that's how we did it, and it turned out really good because it sounds great.
Okay.
Because I grew up listening to John Mayer records, and I'm like, where do I find that warmth? And the guy's like, well, you're not going to get any warmer than tape. And I'm like, all right. So we did a 3-song EP, 1 tape, and I love it.
That's awesome. With that said, that's Lady Liberty.
Yeah, Lady Liberty.
By Justin Angelo.
Solitary, staring at the moon, watching Lady Liberty sip your money from a silver spoon. The country runs like clockwork, it's like the pedal to the gas. We don't fix our problems, someone does on our behalf. Moving just like pawns on a chessboard, wait and see. But you claim nothing's going on, there's no conspiracies. Don't you feel the rise and fall like Rome or just like Greece? But we'll just stand there, shake our heads, and then fall down to our knees and then ask why. Oh, why? Oh, why? Can I feel the light? And some say how? Oh, how? Why here? Oh, I'm right now. Stick your nose in business, just where it don't belong. You yell out facts on the internet, but you haven't researched it all. And I'm just devil's advocate here, pointing out the flaw. 'Cause if you never find your way, then you'll never escape at all, and still ask why. Oh, why? Oh, why? Can't I feel that light? And some say how? Oh, how? Why here? Oh, I'm right now, and we say try to keep your heart wide open. Your mind's filling up with emotion. The fire's burning hot like a molten. Why do you think that you're so broken? Why? Oh, why? Oh, why? Can't I feel the light? And some say how?
Awesome. Granted, we were talking during that entire song, but I'm gonna have to listen to that one again.
Yeah, the Latin vibe is cool.
Yeah, it's and we have two more of your songs to pull up. The next one I want to pull up is the Hey, Hey.
That song. So Lady Liberty is actually a samba to a mamba. So our drummer is like an Afro-Cuban rhythm. Like he knows all the stuff. So he's like, we should do an actual samba and do an actual mamba. And the album that we're working on now. So I have an album that we're working on now, and we actually put Lady Liberty on it again, but we did it as like a live kind of song, like a live version. But then we hired a conga player to do like the conga parts, and then we put like cowbell and stuff in it. So like it's gonna be a re-release on that album, but it's gonna be the last track on that album, and we just felt it needed the extra percussion because of how much we love that song, and that's one of the songs that people like. They still ask me to play that. They're like, hey, play Lady Liberty, play Lady Liberty, play Lady Liberty. I hear it all the time because they just love that it's not your traditional, 4/4 like
right
singer-songwriter song. It's got some groove, it's got some sass.
Yeah, it was from what I was listening to while we were talking. It would sound. It's a shame sometimes because sometimes I want to listen to music, other times I have to.
I get it.
Small conversations, but yeah. So the Hey is kind of the full force into the Mamba Samba.
No, so that's Lady Liberty.
Oh, okay,
Hey is a funk tune. So the band, it was me. Who played on this song? It was me and Dustin. Again, it was me, Dustin. Who did bass on this song? I'm trying to think. I think it was still Brendan who did the bass on this. I could be wrong. Could have been Bobby, but I think it was Brendan. Yeah. So we had won a competition with Susquehanna Folk Music Society. We'd won like a folk singer-songwriter competition. And because Aaron played for the American Music Theater, I'm like, hey man, we got studio time. Want to write some horn parts? So him and the American Music Theater guys wrote the horn parts. We didn't tell them we were coming in. And then we're like, hey, so I brought in all these horn guys, and they're like, we have to do this song in 8 hours. I'm like, yeah, we'll get it done. And at the end of the song, I wanted to do like a big gang vocal. Like I wanted to do like a thing where I was like yelling, kind of not yelling, but like yelling over top of the vocal. And they're like, this isn't going to work. So I had us all stand in a room in a circle around the microphone, and we all yelled in there like, this isn't going to work. And then it sounded awesome. So that's kind of things me breaking rules, like this isn't going to work. And I'm like trying to listen to the professionals. I'm also like, bro, like hear me, like humor me.
Try.
So we did it, and I really liked it. But hey, we did it at Think Loud Studios, which is Chad Taylor from Live. It's their studios. And Dan Meyer did the producing on this. And Dan Meyer, I ended up actually working. I gave you an exclusive with Lighten Up, which is the third song. But that's a song that we did in my studio, and Dan came over and helped me produce that acoustic track. So I'm still working on it. I'm going to add like probably a snare and stuff to that. But hey is Dan Meyer's producing over there at Think Loud Studios. We did in 8 hours, full horn section. And Aaron has a cool clav solo right after the first verse. So it gets in pretty quick. So
awesome. So here's the Hey from Justin Angelo.
South, cruising the freeways. She said, why can't you relax? It's driving me insane. Look me in the eye, won't you? Just to find a way. You may not agree with me, but beauty still displayed. Singing, hey, get out of the way. Hey, got nothing left to say. Nothing left to say. it all unfolded for you. And you said it was a waste. Look at get out of the way. Hey, got nothing left to say. Get out of the way. Hey, got nothing left to say. I'm singing, hey, get out of the way. Hey, got nothing left to say. Nothing left to say.
Dude, that was awesome. I love horns.
Yeah.
I can't get over enough my love of horns and a good and it's just funk, but it's just the tone, the quality, and oh my gosh, was that awesome.
Yeah, that's I mean, that's what happens when you get the people who are working at the American Music Theater to write some stuff out with your players, and they know what they're doing. It's killer horn section. I'm a big fan of horns. I mean, when I see Dave Matthews, I love seeing Dave Matthews with a full horn section. I've seen him acoustic, but I love the full horn section. And my logo, my actual like cursive LA script logo, when I gave it to Adam Serrano, he's my artwork guy, so he does a lot of Lancaster artwork, and he's big in the art community, real like an actual artist. But he went to design school and stuff, and I just told him, like, hey man, I want an LA script. I want something that looks like the Chicago logo. And he gave me a whole. I have a screenshot of the sheet of all the logos he gave me, and that I was like, it's this one. So my logo is actually an homage to Chicago, which is all horn based,
right?
So I come right from there.
Oh my goodness!
So I love the horns, but that's a different song, Whereas Lady Liberty is more of like a Latin samba mamba. This is more of like a party funk song. Yeah. So I don't like being boxed in that much. But here's the thing: is like you want a funk song, we'll write a funk song. You want a Latin song, we'll write a Latin song. And the thing we just cut over there at Think Loud that's going to come out in a little bit. Thing we did with Grant is actually a country bluegrass Americana sound. So I'm kind of reaching from across the board. The last one I gave you, which was produced by Dan Mayer. He's the one who worked on Hey Hey. I pulled him into my studio when I had my home studio in Pennsylvania, and I brought him over because I really liked his ear. I liked what he heard. I like what he brought out of the mix and the EQ and stuff. It's like, hey man, why don't you run the board while I perform the song? And so this one hasn't been played. I'm looking for a beer company. I want to do a beer company where I do like the Brown Eyes Brown Ale or the Brown Eyes Porter or something, or stout. I think that would be really cool. So I'm actively looking for that. I'll probably add some cello, maybe some upright bass. Maybe I'll add like a little like light percussion, but nothing super crazy. But this is made to be like an acoustic sound, and it's all about admiration for a person that you admire. So
cool, man.
Yeah.
With that said, this is Brown Eyes.
Yeah, Brown Eyes.
Brown Eyes by Justin Angelo.
Those brown eyes, oh how they lead me in to this place that I have never been. Calm and cared for, I can feel your love. I'm a better person when I'm in your clutch. I don't wanna pry, I don't wanna force, I just adore the sound of your voice. Throw me a smile, just one wish. Got a feeling it doesn't get better than this. Can't explain how I know, but I've heard of other tales that show why my heart won't leave me be. Brown eyes, don't look away from me. Brown eyes, don't look away from me. lying powerless to your touch. My entire body can feel the rush. When you've gone, I'm not sure what to do. 'Cause all my mind does is lead back to you. But I don't wanna pry, I don't wanna force, I just adore the sound of your voice. Throw me a smile, just one wish. I know I don't wanna let go of this. Can't explain how I know, but I've heard of other tales that show why my heart won't leave me be. Brown eyes don't look away from me. Brown eyes don't look away from me. One more text and now I'm tossed about. Every moment it gets better, no doubt. Not sure where all of this will lead. So won't you lean in and kiss me? 'Cause I don't wanna pry, I don't wanna force, I just adore the sound of your voice. Throw me a smile, just one wish. If it's you, you know I can't resist. I can't explain how I know, but I've heard of other tales that show why my heart won't leave me be. Brown eyes don't look away from me. Brown eyes don't look away from me. Brown eyes don't look away from me.
And that was Brown Eyes by Justin Angelo. Percussion-wise, I feel like it'd be pretty good as like some glockenspiel.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like maybe like a wood block, maybe like a really light, maybe a light snare,
Maybe a cajon would be a
yeah,
little bit of cajon.
yeah.
Real acoustic stuff.
I kind of stay away from the cajon because Jamie's so good at doing like the djembe and stuff like that. So I'd rather use like something that's a more percussive instrument, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like cajons sound good in person, but I don't feel like they translate well to a recording. But if somebody has a good cajon recording, please send it my way. I'd love to be proven wrong.
Right.
You know, yeah.
Well, with that said, we're rounding out our time on the radio. If you want to follow Justin Angelo, where can they find you?
You can find me at www.justinangelomusic.com. You guys can find me on Facebook or Instagram or, you know, these other social media sites, Spotify, Apple Music, under Justin Angelo Music. And then we have a show tomorrow night over at the Mount Gretna Hideaway. Me and James and Jamie are going to do a little acoustic trio over there at Mount Gretna Hideaway from 8 to 11 p.m. Friday night.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be the first.
And is that all you have left in Lancaster?
Yep, that's we did one pop-up show over at 551. Now we're doing this last one at Mount Gretna Hideaway, which is a place I used to play quite often, so it'll be great for me to play in another comfortable environment. And then I think I'm gonna call it until next time I come up.
Cool, man. Do you have any album release, any of that scheduled out yet, or?
Yeah, nothing really scheduled. We just cut that single with Atrium, so we're in the mixing process now. All the tracking is pretty much done. So we're just in the mixing process, and then, you know, I got to think about artwork and merch and stuff and get all that stuff ready. And then when it's all ready, I'll start doing promo for that. And then I think we have a 10-song album that I'm working on. It's almost done. I'm pretty much at the late mixing stages. And once I send it out, I'm going to send it out to Europe to be mastered, and then it's going to come back. There's a guy that I think can do a really good job. So I'm going to send it out to over there. And then,
over there?
Yeah, over there. And then they'll send it back, and
Well,
we'll
hey,
go from there.
If you want to find Justin Angelo, listen to more of his music. And by the way, that was the Brown Eyes. That's going to be different when the next time you hear it, the next time it's released.
Yeah.
So be sure to check him out. Like you said, Instagram at Justin Angelo Music, and that's all of his streaming platforms.
Mm-hmm.
Spotify, Apple Music, Google, whatever you use. There's so many nowadays.
Yeah.
Facebook, Justin Angelo, singer-songwriter. You can, if you like this episode and want to support what we do here at the Story Podcast, please do be sure to, I wish I could speak. Please be sure to share and like and follow. It really does help me out. The best growth is organic growth for sure. And if you really do enjoy what I do, and are excited for upcoming guests and projects, please do be sure to follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/The Story Corey Rosen. That's CORYROSEN. You can also search up The Story Corey Rosen on all streaming platforms to listen to us there. My mind went blank. If you really want to support us, you can help or message me about merchandise. We have stickers and we have hoodies with the logo on the front and the first 50 guests, including Mr. Justin, on the back. With all that said, we're going to get the radio back to the radio. We're going to continue on with our conversation on Facebook Live. All right. So, tell me about the process of writing your music, the promotional stuff, and all that jazz that goes into that.
Yeah, so I think the songwriting process for me is I feel like my songs don't get written quickly. And I don't mean that like I don't like cuz I write like every day. So I'm sifting through like all of the songs. Like, I want to have 25 songs and I want to find the best 3, And then those are the ones I want to put like the real time into. My songwriting process sometimes it starts with like a vocal thing, sometimes it'll be like and I start messing around like, do I want to hear that on the piano? Do I want to hear that on the guitar? Do I want the vocal to do that? Do I want the bass to do that? Like I start thinking about these things and I experiment and throw it into my Pro Tools and see like, do I like this? Do I like that? And then once I kind of have the melody lines and where everything's going to go, and I try to like write like the verses and the choruses so they go really well together, and then I later try to write a bridge that goes to a good place and can still come back without getting boring or without being just like filler noise. So the songwriting process is I take it very seriously. I want everything to feel good. I want it to like feel right. If it feels right and I can go away going, that's a confident song. I can send that out. If I feel good about that, it doesn't really matter to me if somebody else doesn't really like it. Because like that's a matter of personal taste.
Right, and all music is subjective anyway. So
but yeah, the promotion thing's interesting. I like to kind of work from where the song's at. So something like Hey Hey, like the way I approached it, I was like, all right, man, we got kind of like a party song. It's got horns in it. It feels like very New Orleans noir to me. So I was up in Centralia, and I take photos with like a nice Nikon, and so I was out there and I saw I was up there before they ripped it all apart or whatever, and that's where they have all the graffiti on the road. So I was out there and I took a picture of the JAB thing because I was like, that's Justin Angelo band. So I took a picture of that, and then I was like, all right, well, let me go to like defont.com and find a cool urban newspaper patch font, and I found that, and then I put that together, and then I sent it to my art guy, sent it to Adam, and Adam did a little color wash on it, and then that's what it was. I wanted it to be like an urban kind of graffiti kind of setting because it's like that's what you would see if you walk through like New Orleans. You would see like that earthy noir poster with cut up letters, something cool like we're gonna go check out this back alley show.
Right.
That's what I wanted for that. Whereas like Lady Liberty, the album for that was just me, with a photo by my photographer James Giffen, and I was like, hey man, I want something where I'm like sitting there with my face on the cover. I wanted to wear a nice leather jacket. I wanted to have, the rocker look, but I wanted it to be the acoustic guitar to kind of like separate myself from that. So that's how the album artwork came for that. And for the album that Brown Eyes is going to be on, I just went with a straight like, hey, how do we make like the name of the band? Like, how do we turn that into like its own artwork and separate it from the logo? Because it's cool to have like a band logo, and you could easily just put that on a thing in the center small and it would look great. But I wanted to kind of take a more artistic approach, like, hey, this is our band, but this is the album cover for this, so it's in a different font, and that's what I wanted to do. So I got that back, and then I decide like, what kind of merch I want to put out. Do I want a t-shirt? Do I want a hoodie? Do I want a cup? Do I want a lighter? Like, what are we going to put this on? What's it going to look good on? So I start thinking about those things, and then I use Printful for all that. So I send the album in, I send the artwork in, and then I design what I want, and I figure out the quality of the thing I want. And then After that's ready, I just leave it sit. I make sure it's connected to my Venmo or whatever. I use Squarespace for my website. So I link it to my website. I figure out how to do that. Watch these, 12-year-old kids on YouTube teaching me how to do stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then once that's all done, then I go, okay, well, we need at least, I'll go like, okay, well, like when someone comes to the Giant Center, how long away do they promote that? How long away do they promote a show versus like promoting a release? Like I like John Mayer, so I'll just go back and go, okay, well, when did John Mayer release his album? When did he tease it? When did he release this? And I'll write out that timeline and go, okay, well, he did this, and then 4 weeks later he did this, and then he did 2 weeks, and then 1 week, and then 5 days, and then whatever. And so I'll try to follow that. So then I try to create content for each of those things to happen. And then I'll promote it myself and release it, and then that goes out to you guys from there. So that's kind of how my process is, it's easy for me to write songs because I play so much, and I'm also a very creative person. I don't spend a lot of time like learning exactly how somebody writes like a cover of Rush or something, so I'm not really learning how other people write music. I'm learning how I write music. So that makes it easier for me to write music because I'm not trying to cover stuff. I do renditions. I'll take something and pull it out of the key and not do the same thing, but keep the same melody, and it works for people.
Right. I love when people like reharmonize pops. Have you ever heard Adam Neely's rendition of Adele's Hello?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh, I love that one.
Yeah, definitely.
It's great. Something I really wanted to get into because it's an exercise in composition for sure.
Oh yeah, exactly.
I did that for Silent Night, and that was a challenging piece because I'm not a vocal writer at all.
Well, there's a thing on YouTube if you're interested in this stuff. There's a thing on YouTube where they do the
It's not Postmodern Juice Box, is it?
No. Postmodern Jukebox is great.
Yeah,
they're great.
They're awesome.
But I'm talking about there's a guy online who did the national anthem, but he recomposed it to be in minor. So it's pretty sweet. So like that stuff gets kind of cool for me.
Right.
Like, that's weird.
Right. Yeah. The weird stuff that
Yeah.
you turn something and they make it like Happy Birthday but creepy.
Postmodern Jukebox did a Pokemon. They did the Pokemon theme song.
Really?
In like a jazz noir. Oh, it's awesome.
Dude, I can't shout out Postmodern Jukebox enough for
they're
so much inspiration.
Yeah, they're great.
So how do you finances, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is this your full-time job?
Yeah.
How do you work out budget? How do you budget for yourself?
Well, I don't know. It was different. Like when I was in Pennsylvania, I would just, figure out my rent was, figure out what my average expenses were, and I would just try to go, okay, well, I need to make at least that. So how do I split that up so it's even? So if I ask like a venue, like, hey, can you pay me this much? Like, how many gigs do I have to play in order for that to be the minimum? And then I go, okay, and then I just try to find the venues that'll work with me and support with me on my budget and what I'm looking for. And, I feel like when you first get into it, you kind of have to be at the mercy of like the people and what they have budgeted for their music program because they're running a business and you are not.
Right.
But once you're kind of in the position where you're running your own business, when I moved to Key West and there was a lot more gigs and close quarters and I wasn't spending as much money on gas or as much time traveling, I feel like I could make more money in a day. So it's a little bit different budgeting that. It's also more expensive there. So it's also similar, But I feel like I'm very fortunate to be smart enough to be able to budget for the things that I want versus the things that I need versus the things that I require for business. I feel like you really just have to take time to develop that, and I do it with small things. I go, well, hey man, like when you get $100, let's just say you have to have $100. Like I'll do test. Let's do a test. Okay, I have to live off of $100 for 4 days. Try to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Try to do it for 3 days. Try to do it for 6 days. And then you start, getting an idea of where you want to budget your time and your money.
Right. It's something I've been having to deal with because I've had a lot of
everybody.
Well, yeah, everybody has to deal with it at some point. But these past few weeks, I've been really strapped for cash because there's just a multitude of things that just went wrong all at once.
Side hustles are getting more popular, man.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's definitely. If you can live off of, I've been having to live off of $10 for a while now, and it's hard, but it's possible.
Well, I experiment with 100 because it gives you some leeway in the first.
Well, I didn't have a choice.
Yeah, right.
Sometimes you just don't have that choice, but it's good to know how to live with a little amount of money because
Yeah.
especially in the culture now, it's
Mm-hmm.
spend. I always have to have the grind. Always get
Yeah.
that more money because I have to spend it on this new product or
Right.
whatever.
Right. Right.
So it's especially when things get rough, it's
Yeah.
really good to know.
Well, that's
Not
the want versus need thing, you know. I mean,
hmm
when I do spend, you know, if I am going to spend in excess, I try to make it something that will either return a
hmm
portion of that money or something that'll prove worth it long term, you
investment.
know.
Yeah,
Yeah, like I try to be careful with that, you know, because you know, I like if you need a new pair of shoes, you need a new pair of shoes,
that's right.
but maybe you don't need a new pair of Jordans. You know what I
Right.
mean? It's you have to budget your time and the same. And I would argue that the time aspect of it is more important because you're always gonna have like a situation where if you're motivated, you'll find work, and if you
Yes.
find work in whatever your field is, you'll have money,
hmm
but you won't have more time.
hmm
And I feel like that's something I feel like I budget my time more than I budget my money, especially with social media.
Oh, for sure.
You know, I don't want to be sitting around for half an hour mindlessly scrolling. You know, I set a 10-minute alarm on my phone. When I go on break at a show, I set my 10-minute alarm, I mean, on my watch. Set my 10-minute alarm on, and then when it goes off, I'm done. And I go back to the show. Same thing with social media, 15, 20 minutes, whatever. That's as much as I'm willing to give it consciously.
hmm
You know, because if you don't do that, you'll just, man, an hour went by, I'm running late. And
Right.
that's your fault.
Yeah.
That falls into the professionalism world for me. You know, if I can keep a handle on it in my personal life, it's much easier to keep a handle on it in my professional life. You know?
And that's half the battle is to have control over yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
So, getting some more of the more traditional questions that I like to ask. What are some mistakes that maybe you have made or you've seen other people make that you can speak to and like help other people, upcoming people, avoid?
I think a big thing is it seems you know kind of purposeless, but I think the way you dress really matters. You know, if you walk into a place wearing a tank top, you know, and baggy jeans and you're not wearing a belt, I could see why somebody wouldn't respond to your message.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you walk in there just wearing like nice jeans, no rips, not new shoes, but nice shoes, you know, not like paint covered, not like your work boots, you know, the way you present yourself to people and the way you dress, it matters to them,
It does.
you
It
know.
really does.
The other thing I would say is that I think I try to tell people to, you know, with whatever you're doing, like, and it's different for me because now I'm in different positions, you know, like it's easier for me to make, you know, recording with the band at Rock Lidditz. It's easy for me to make that look cool,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but it's a little less hard for you to make like, hey man, I was practicing this song in my bedroom. I want to know what y'all think. It's hard to make that look cool to people who don't think it's cool. So that's the thing is I would advocate for people to be honest about what they're doing in the music world and even more importantly to be humble about it because that's the thing I didn't get to playing full time, you know, thinking I was the best.
Mm-hmm.
I got there because I was the easiest to work with. You know, I was the person that they wanted to call. I was the person they wanted to give the position because I'm easy to work with and I work with them with what they're trying to do, not with what I'm trying to do. So I think that's something. I also think that, you know, there's a time and place for celebrations, and there's a time and place to go, hey, we had a really good night. Let's not brag about this. Let's just enjoy it. You know, let's enjoy it and be grateful that it happened. You know, and I would urge people to be more like that in the world because I think people who are in tougher positions would respect that more. You know, and I think if you really want to reach the kind of everyday household name populace, you have to be mindful of what their day is like, not just your own. You know, hey, I'm in Key West and it's awesome and I'm
Right.
around all this cool people and, you know, I don't want to make people feel bad. I want people to support me because they liked my music. I don't want people to support me because I live like Justin Bieber on a tour bus.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I want real, authentic connections with people.
Yeah, it's all hunky dory to be like, well, I run this podcast and I have all these great people on, but
Yeah.
It's a balance for sure.
Right.
I've caught myself a lot.
Of course.
I love to discuss like because I'm excited,
Yeah.
but to other people it comes across as bragging sometimes.
Well, that's also depending on the person.
It's also depending on the person. But I do have to realize that not everybody wants to hear
Right.
all the things you're doing.
Yeah, it's feeling out the room.
It's filling
Yeah.
out the room for sure.
Yeah, and I encourage people to call me and ask me questions all the time. Like I'm in town, I have a buddy who wants to get into country. He's like, "Hey man, do you mind if like you play a little guitar and I just sing over it? Just could you give me a couple pointers?" I'll do that. I'm not above that. You know, my buddy's like, "Hey, I could use some guitar on this little track," and I'm like an alternative artist. I know it's not your genre, but I like what you write. I'm like, "All right, I'll take a shot at it."
Mm-hmm.
Sure. You know, I mean, that's the kind of thing is I want people to grow and succeed. And you know, I tell people to hit me up all the time. I'm like, hey man, if you need a second opinion, shoot me a message on Facebook, call me. Like I go through my message requests. Just because you're not my friend on Facebook doesn't mean I won't see your message. I'll absolutely see your message. Like Liam Galliano messaged me one time, like, what do you think about my business card? And I just told him what I felt, and he was grateful for that. But he trusted me enough to believe that I had good insight.
Mm-hmm.
I thought what he had was great, and I told him that, and that's what he went with. You know, but sometimes having that extra piece of, oh hey, this person, I respect this person, and they like it, so I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes people need that.
Yeah.
And I want to be that person. I don't want to be the guy who's like, what are you talking about, bro? You should be using because is the best. I don't care what's the best. I care what works for your brand.
Right. It's not what works best for me. It's what works best for you.
Exactly.
That really needs to be pushed.
Yeah, everything is an individual discussion. You know?
Yeah. So what is one thing that you know now that you wish you had known when you first started?
I wish I had known to slow down.
Mm.
You know, I feel like I did learn that with releasing music. You know, I like my first album a lot, but it's not like what I'm doing now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I wish I would have taken a little bit more time with it to kind of see the full range of it. But I feel like when people listen to that first album and then they listen to the stuff I'm doing now, I feel like all they're going to see is growth. So that's the thing that I can take home from it. But you know, we all have situations. We all learn from different things. I mean, I've learned from other people's mistakes just from watching them do it.
Mm-hmm.
I watched somebody get, you know, too drunk at a show, and I'm like, I learned that lesson for them, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, not everything is personally related to my mistakes.
Right.
You know, I try to just observe what's happening in the system, and a lot of the time I go, well, why can't it be like this? And then I go, well, how do I make this happen?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so a lot of it's that. But yeah,
that's a lot of reason why I started the podcast, because I want to see stuff happen, and oftentimes it is that you have to do it yourself sometimes, and that's what I decided to do. I'm like, you know what, I want to see the music theater company and the church and the gigging community come more together.
Right.
It's not going to be nobody else that's going to do it, so why not try?
Right.
And if it fails, you know what? I tried.
And if it works, you fill that void.
If it works, I fill the void. That's right.
Yeah. And I feel like there's always room for that, you know? And I feel that way with music, too. Like, just because I don't necessarily, you know, like an artist. Like, I'm not a huge fan of the Lumineers. Just that's me personally. But when I hear it, I go, you know what, though? There's definitely room in the spectrum for them. There's a place for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I respect that. And I respect people who like listening to them. You know, some of my friends listen to, like, I don't know how you say it. It's like the Abbott Brothers or the Avett Brothers or whoever. Like my buddy loves them and goes and sees them all the time. I like their music. I like their writing, but that's not something I would go and like see live.
Mm.
That's something I like to sit in a room and listen to, like on nice speakers. But like to them, they're like, oh, seeing it live and doing that, there's the whole thing. I don't want to take that away from them.
Mm-hmm.
But I also, you know, have to be honest with myself. Like that's not my cup of tea.
Right.
But I still respect what they're doing, and I love that he's enthusiastic, and I love that he found something that he cares about, and I think that's the way it's supposed to work.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
All right. So, what is one of the funniest or worst things that happened to you on a gig?
I had a drummer just get like stomach sick and throw up at a gig all over his drum set.
Oh no.
Yeah.
How'd you deal with that?
Well, it wasn't me, so that
Well,
made it
that's fair.
easier.
That's fair.
No, it was cool. Fortunately, we had a multi-instrumentalist at the show, so he just stopped playing one instrument and just started playing the drums.
Hopefully with it all cleaned up, though.
Well, it took a minute. But the bar, luckily the bar didn't really know what was going on, so that's good because, we had a lot of stuff, so you couldn't really see back there so much. So. But yeah, I mean, I feel like we recovered from it pretty well. But yeah, nothing you could do. Like, he didn't drink too much or nothing. It was just like you had a thing and a thing happened. In the moment, I was like, what do we do? And I looked over my bass player. I'm like, what do we do? And
Continue, I guess.
But now that I look back on it, I'm like, well, I did the right thing. I didn't stop,
Right,
yeah, I didn't stop.
The worst thing to do is to stop.
Yeah,
and then you acknowledge,
you're drawing
there's a
attention.
problem.
Yeah, you're drawing attention.
Yeah, right. It's, even if you mess up, worst thing you can do is stop.
Oh yeah.
And you got to keep going. And granted, there are sometimes where it's warranted. You can stop a little for like recitals if you're just off.
Right. Finish the song to the best of your ability.
Yep.
Be a professional. Stop. Say you're taking 5-10 minutes. Say you're taking 5 minutes.
Right.
Don't make the people in the place leave.
Mm-hmm.
Say you're going on in 5 minutes. You pause it. You get them to throw the house music on, and you work as quickly and as fast and professionally as you can.
Right.
And if it's 10 minutes, big deal.
Big deal. Right.
Whatever. You have to leave room for human error.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
It's not gonna go. It's not gonna go the way you want it to go, but it'll go the way it's supposed to go. Maybe.
Maybe. It'll go somewhere. Which way?
Yeah.
It's gonna go somewhere. Always. This has been a lot of fun, man.
Yeah, man. Thank you for bringing me on, and I appreciate all the work and stuff behind the scenes that you did to help keep it on track. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah, man. No worries. I'd love to have you on again. I'll see you in Key West. Maybe we'll put something together down there.
Yeah, hook up with we'll get you all hooked up down there.
Yeah. With all that said, you can find Justin Angelo at his website. Justin Angelo, is it music.com?
JustinAngeloMusic.com.
And that's where you can find, I'll find him on Instagram, Justin Angelo Music. If you're ever in the Key West, definitely check him out. Because he's got gigs all the time. I've heard that he's played 9 hours, different gigs. Or 9 hours singing, 9 hours a day. That's at least 3 different gigs?
Yeah, 3 gigs. So it's 9.5 hours of playing and singing, and then about maybe 2 or 3 hours of setup and tear down throughout the day.
Oh my goodness. That's a lot.
Yeah, it's a 12 to 14, 16-hour day sometimes.
But I'm sure it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's tons of fun.
You can check him out down there. Definitely make sure you check him out. If you like the show, be sure to like and follow. You can follow us on Facebook.com/The Story Corey Rosen. That's where you will see all the upcoming guests. And as well as Instagram, that's _story_podcast. You can check that. I nailed it that time. I struggled with that one for a while. You can check us out there. I'm going to be building a website soon. And from there, you'll be able to check out all the podcasts and our merchandise, which will be stickers, 5-inch by 2-inch stickers. I think they're really cool.
No, I love it. I like the company you picked.
Yeah, it's custom stickers,
Yeah.
sticker app.
I've used custom stickers before. I used Sticker Mule before. I like them all. They're all great.
Yeah.
They're all great.
And you can also get a hoodie from us. You can message me on wherever you feel comfortable messaging me. I'll hook you up with the hoodie with the logo on the front. First 50 guests on the back. And with all that said, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Tune in tomorrow. We're going to have Sam Amelia, an awesome keyboardist around the area. That's going to be 9:30 in the morning, a little bit earlier than this one, but we'll get through it. And I hope you guys join us then. If not, I'll see you whenever I see you. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. See you guys.
Guys, have a good one.